It is 2 degrees out there, it is freezing cold, the roads are wet, and this weekend I have been trying to review this, the Ferrari Portofino, a 600 horsepower V8 twin turbo rear wheel drive convertible. I love my job. The Portofino is Maranello's third attempt at the front-engine V8 hardtop convertible formula, following on from the California and the California T. Now, I think it is fair to say that neither of those cars really quite hit their mark, and so for this, Ferrari have really gone all out. Now, I am quite a Ferrari fan. One day I'd love to be a Ferrari owner, but unfortunately that may still be some way off. However, you really do need to judge a Ferrari with a very different eye to most other cars. The most important thing for me about a Ferrari is the way that it looks. It is an object of desire. You have to look at it and want it. And that is simply something I could never say of the California or California T. This, though, is unreal. Even in this, not to my taste, shade of aluminium opaco, an £18,000 option, it is a gorgeous thing. In a minute, I'm going to give you a detailed walk around of the car and the spec of this one in particular, because it is, as you might expect from a Ferrari press car, very heavily optioned. But one thing the Portofino succeeds in, which I think makes it stand out amongst, well, anything, is the fact that it looks extremely desirable both as a coupe and convertible with the roof down. And that roof is a real work of art. Let me show you. Now admit it, that is pretty cool. This, as you may have seen from the title, is going to be a two-part review. Today I'm going to give you the sort of full lowdown on the specs, my opinion of the car, all that jazz, and then in part 2 I'm going to take it out on the road and see what it's like to drive. Seems the best and easiest way of dividing it up for those people that are interested in this kind of stuff and those that aren't. So if you're waiting for me to drive the car, yeah, that'll be in the next video. Now, what I have in my hand is the spec sheet for this car, and you'll see on the spec sheet the base price, £166,551. And that is what is helping inform me as to what I should compare this car with. I shouldn't really compare it with another Ferrari, because Ferrari don't really want me to do that, because as far as they're concerned, they don't have a car that is a competitor for this, and I think that's a mistake that maybe a lot of journalists have made. Instead, the two cars that I've got in mind as rivals for this are on one side the Jaguar F-Type SVR that I recently drove, and on the other the McLaren 570S Spider. The McLaren is an unfair rival really, because it's probably closer to, say, a 488 Spider, but a 488 is a lot more money. And yeah, in theory, this is kind of roughly 570 Spider money. The F-Type is a lot cheaper. It's about £120,000 with plenty of options on the SVR, but gives you similar power and similar on-paper performance. Now, first things first, this car looks stunning. On first inspection, it's a great car. It's got a brilliant look about it, but the longer you spend looking at it, the more details become apparent. For example, the little haunches here above the wheel arches. Absolutely delightful, fantastic. The car also has some aero, clearly inspired by its bigger brothers. You have a gap through the side of these lights, which allows air to pass along the side of the car and exit here with these lovely carbon fibre side vents. And one thing I don't love about the car is the fact that the front rides very, very high. It's unusually high, but I like the fact that the tyres are not paper thin on it. It is wearing, as you may have noticed, Pirelli Soto Zero Winters. Now, I hinted at you that this car had some big options on it. The paint is the biggest one, an unbelievable £18,670, but it doesn't end there. See, that's the size of the price list, so I'll now talk you through the options. You've got Apple CarPlay, £2,400. The reason it's that expensive is because you need an entirely different wiring loom for CarPlay on one of these. Really, they should just give you the as standard in all cars, and they should do Android Auto as well. It's a bit silly that they don't, but yeah, it's Ferrari, okay? I mean, the fact is, the last Ferrari I drove, or the most modern Ferrari I drove, was a 430, and that is generations away from the features and functionality that this car has. You've got the adaptive front lights. They swivel and turn and are actually very good. £2,000. Giallo Modena, i.e. yellow brake calipers, £864. Carbon fibre rear air ducts, £2,400. That's the little bit here. The front air vents in carbon, another £2,400. The carbon fibre under door cover, which I take to be this piece here, £4,992. The front grille in black chrome, £960. The carbon fibre driver zone plus steering wheel with LED shift lights, £4,320. And that is a pretty essential option. I stopped off not too long ago at Ferrari of Manchester and spoke with their sales guy there, Ben, who is lovely and friendly. And if you're in the market for a Ferrari, cannot say enough nice things about them. Getting that carbon driver zone, pretty essential. Now, you would like to think that that would get you all the carbon in here. Sadly, it does not. The central bridge, the bit where your gear selectors are down there, £1,632. The kick sill, that bit there, £1,152. Possibly the most upsetting option in the whole car, that little bit of carbon fibre, right there, that covers the cup holder, £1,440. The leather central tunnel, £624, a surprisingly reasonable option. Carbon fibre dashboard inserts, which are those bits there, just under £2,500. The wheels on this car, which are spectacular. I mean, you look at them. They're forged, milled from a single piece of aluminium, and it took me a while to realise this, but if you look carefully, you'll notice the 5-spoke design that's common on many Ferrari cars is kind of echoed in them. And they're pretty intricate. At first I thought they may be sort of Maserati-inspired tridents, but then when I saw the way it was finished, very, very Ferrari. £10,000. There are several other wheel options for this car, which fortunately are all also very, very nice. These are the most expensive wheels apparently Ferrari have ever had on a press car. The prancing horse embroidered into the headrests is £720. Black ceramic exhaust pipe, £960. There is no sports exhaust option on this car. It's just the tips. It's just a cosmetic thing. Carbon fibre front spoiler, £3,360. Does look very, very good, but ouchie. You've then got floor mats with the embroidered logo, £768. You also have something called high emotion, low emission, which is basically Ferrari's way of trying to get the cars to meet all of the relevant Euro standards, and that is a no-cost option. It's standard, actually, on UK cars. You've got the interior colour real leather trim, whatever that means. So these are what are technically the base seats. This is £480 for, I think, the leather colour. The fender shields, which are here. Notice also, any Ferrari that had this from factory should have totally different fenders on it as well, because they are indented. They're not just stuck on top of the existing fenders. That is actually pretty reasonable at £1,056. The Magnaride 2-mode suspension, £3,168, and essential, as you'll see in the driving section. Front and rear parking cameras, £3,456. The passenger display, which I'll show you on the interior bit, £3,360. The footrest in aluminium, £480. The paint, £1,870. Aluminium rev counter, £557. Electric seats are standard for the UK. Foldable seats in the back are standard. High power hi-fi, £3,500. And stitching, £432. Bringing this car's total price to £245,000. Or, to put it another way, not 50% more than an F-Type SVR, double the price. So let's take a look in here. One thing I must say about this car is that it does feel like a very, very special place to be. This is immediately a huge leap up in quality over the Jaguar, and just a ridiculous chasm better than any McLaren I've ever sat in. I love some of the McLaren interiors. They're very nice in a sort of Lotusy, efficient, driver-focused way, but this as a thing to behold is magnificent is the little details. Like, look at this. This is all beautiful, nice stitched leather, and even on the passenger side, the airbag warning is stitched in. So modern Ferrari, let's talk you through it. To get the car started, which I'm going to need to do to talk you through most of the features, simply put your foot on the brake and press that. I'm just going to get the ignition going for now so we can talk you through what happens. So you've got a nice aluminium central display here, which is still analog, and I love it for that. Your speedo will move from side to side. So this little screen on the right, and they're both configurable, this little screen on the right is activated by these controls down here, and you can have all sorts of stuff. So you can have temperature displays, you can have tyre information, you can then have information about what the car's different systems are doing. So in this car, unlike other Ferraris you may have seen, there are only 3 modes to choose on the Manettino down here. You have Comfort, Sport and ESC off. Frankly, for this car, you don't need any more. As is traditional with modern Ferraris, the steering wheel has kind of everything on it, and I must confess that I'm not entirely in love with it. The wheel itself is gorgeous, brilliant, beautiful, love holding it. But these it's the indicators. It's the indicators that confuse the hell out of me. I'm getting used to the fact that the gear paddles don't move. I actually like gear paddles that don't move. But it's the fact that everything else moves that I don't expect it to. It's just a touch confusing. So if you change these settings here, you'll see the different elements of the car that are being changed, the different systems working in different ways depending on how you've got the car set up. You then have this large 10-inch screen down here playing some Dire Straits. Dual zone climate control, and this can be set and used either as a touchscreen or handily from these buttons down here, which I really like. Why don't more manufacturers do this? It means that you can do the important stuff. So if you're playing songs, you can skip through by doing that, or you can do stuff either way, or you can touch it if you're just sat still programming stuff in, all that jazz. Lovely, well thought out place to put the key down here. Fits nicely and neatly. No comfort access on this car. No, there's keyless start, but not keyless entry, which I think is a very, very good thing. This is all very beautiful, very elegant. Nice positioned cup holder. Apple CarPlay and everything plugs in there. There's even a nice slot for your phone. These seats, some of the comfiest I have ever encountered. They have heating, of course. You can get ventilated as option. There are different seats you can choose from as well. But the amount of adjustment that they have is crazy. So you've got cushion length, you've got thigh bolsters, you've got side bolsters, you've got lumbar, and you've got a back bolster. It's mad. Absolutely mad. They're not the most supportive seats. I personally prefer something a little more sort of buckety, but that's my personal preference. It's ridiculously comfortable. The heater system in here is another one of many, many things that Ferrari have improved. It is faster to warm up and quieter than the system that it replaced. Another little detail that I really appreciate in here, having come from a series of McLarens recently, is this rearview mirror. It looks nice. You get in a 720, look at the rearview mirror. It's a horrible, nasty piece of cheap plastic, and that's just not good enough in a £250,000 car. This is a really excellent place to be. This display on the side, you can set it and move it, and you can have either phone information, you can have music information, you can have whatever you want, and then the speedo can be on either this side or this side depending on what you want. Down here, quite simple. For reverse, press that. That is auto or manual mode. Launcher control, which I have not tested and I'm not going to test because frankly in this weather, pointless. To get the car going, you simply put your foot down on there, press start and go along. The suspension option, if you're in sport mode, simply hit that and it will activate what Ferrari call bumpy road mode. And that means that you are then in the comfort setting for the suspension. And honestly, it's brilliant. It works fantastically. So the way I've been driving this car is in sport with bumpy road mode activated. And it's just the best way to drive the car. I don't need any more configuration than that. It works really, really well. The passenger display, quite funky. You can set a lot of things. You've got basically a mirror of some of these displays essentially. You can even you can change some of the media settings. You can change this, you can change this, you can, all sorts of stuff. I originally thought this was going to be kind of gimmicky, but actually the people I've had in the car have actually kind of enjoyed it. The engine bay on this car is every bit as incredible as you would hope from a Ferrari. It is utterly stunning. These days, it's pretty unusual to be able to see any engine whatsoever, and to have something that is this pretty, well, it's quite a treat. Note how far back and how low down the engine is. The entire thing is rearward of the front axle line. The top of the engine, all the way down here, this thing's very, very low, obviously optimised for sporty driving, and those bits of chassis just standing proud there. Looks utterly and totally stunning. Yes, the chassis is basically all aluminium. It's a mixture of castings, stampings and extrusions, and Ferrari spent a lot of time and effort making it a lot lighter than the California T. The whole car apparently is 80 kilograms lighter for a quoted wet weight of 1,664 kilos. Not a flyweight, but then I wouldn't expect it from a car in this category. It certainly is a lot lighter than, for example, a Mercedes SL. At the moment, you can see obviously roof stored nicely and neatly, but you have loads of room, and it goes a hell of a long way back because you've got a section right up there, so I can't even reach all the way in there. So you can actually fit 3 in-flight cabin bags when the roof is up, because you get more storage. This little section here lifts up and gives you more storage, which is great, because if you want to use the car as a GT car, put all your bags in for the drive down, keep the roof up, then when you get there, take some bags out, you can get your roof down and enjoy it. Best of both worlds. And as is common with every Ferrari these days, you have this beautiful plaque in the back telling you what it is that you have paid for. A few little things I don't like about the car. The fact that from where you sit, the top of the screen is kind of just cut off by this, which is... it should just be why there's so much space down here. The screen itself should just be a fraction lower. And when you're driving, heater system works great, but there's just not enough airflow coming from below, and your knees, your sort of section here, gets really quite cold. However, with that wind deflector up, it's incredible at isolating you from the wind, as you'll see in the driving portion. So that, I hope, is a reasonable introduction to the Portofino. I really, really love it. And yes, there's a lot of optional stuff in here, but honestly, stuff like the carbon fibre, I know it's expensive, but this is very special. This is much nicer. This is proper, real wet lay carbon. It's not injection molded stuff. And it just looks and feels way nicer than the equivalent stuff you would find in something like a McLaren. So, you know, a Ferrari, I think people have expectations of what it's going to be like. And actually, this is as nice as I'd expect a Ferrari to be, as beautifully crafted as I'd expect a Ferrari to be, but also ridiculously practical. The screen, nice high resolution, nav works well, phone works well, radio works well, it's got DAB, it's got everything. Like, you really could use this every day if you wanted to.